What would you do if the person you just humiliated turned out to be the one person you needed to impress? In downtown Chicago, inside one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, a millionaire spent an entire evening mocking his waiter. Every insult, every sneer, every condescending remark was delivered with the confidence of a man who believed he stood at the top. But when he finally demanded to speak to the owner, for words changed everything. "You already are." What happened next didn't just silence a room full of wealthy diners. It sparked a conversation that spread across the city and reminded everyone of a truth we often forget. Sometimes the person you're looking down on is already standing far above you. Before I tell you how this unfolded, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because stories like this, stories that challenge how we see success and humility, are exactly what we're about here. Maison du Verre wasn't just another restaurant. It was a statement. Located in the heart of Chicago's Gold Coast, the establishment had become the city's latest obsession among the elite. Floor-to-ceiling windows, chandeliers that cost more than most people's homes, a wine list that read like a European history lesson, reservations booked out 4 months in advance. And even then, you needed the right connections just to get your name on the list. This was where power players came to be seen, where deals were sealed over $30 appetizers and $100 bottles became the baseline, not the exception. The kind of place where your net worth determined your table location, and everyone knew it. On this particular Friday night in late September, the dining room buzzed with the usual energy. Lawyers celebrating wins, tech entrepreneurs flaunting exits, old money mixing with new money, all draped in designer labels and expensive cologne. The atmosphere felt electric, exclusive, intoxicating. Among the evening's guests was a group fresh from a real estate investment conference at the Four Seasons. 6 men in tailored suits, still riding the high of a day spent talking millions and market domination. At the center of this group sat Leonard Briggs, and if you'd met him, you'd remember him, not because of his accomplishments, though he had plenty, but because of the way he made sure you knew about them. Self-made millionaire, real estate mogul, the kind of man who measured his worth in property portfolios and mistook wealth for wisdom. His voice carried across tables. His laugh demanded attention. And his ego, that needed its own reservation. The evening was in full swing when Daniel approached their table. Mid-30s, composed, dressed in the crisp uniform of the waitstaff. He moved with quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't announce itself. His smile was genuine, professional. He carried himself with a dignity that seemed almost out of place for someone in his position. At least, that's what Leonard thought. "Good evening, gentlemen," Daniel said warmly, setting down menus with practiced precision. "Welcome to Maison du Verre. I'm Daniel, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with something to drink, or would you prefer a moment to look over the menu?" Leonard looked up slowly, his eyes scanning Daniel with the assessment of someone evaluating livestock. The smirk came first, then the words. "So, how's it feel serving people who actually made it in life?" The table went quiet. Awkward glances exchanged between Leonard's companions. One cleared his throat. Another suddenly found his menu fascinating. But Leonard? He leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, waiting for the reaction his cruelty usually provoked. Daniel's expression didn't change, not even a flicker. He simply smiled, not the forced kind you give to difficult customers, but something softer, more genuine, and replied, "I'm just happy to make your evening special, sir. That's what I'm here for." If you've ever witnessed someone being publicly disrespected like this and felt that knot in your stomach, drop a comment below. Because what happened next only got worse. Throughout the meal, Leonard made Daniel his personal target. It wasn't enough to simply be served. Leonard needed an audience for his superiority, and Daniel became the unwilling performer in his show. When Daniel returned with water, Leonard waved him off dismissively. "Took you long enough. I guess efficiency isn't taught in waiter school." His table mates chuckled nervously, the kind of laughter that comes from discomfort rather than genuine amusement. Later, when Daniel suggested a wine pairing, a Bordeaux that complemented their steaks perfectly, Leonard scoffed loudly enough for neighboring tables to hear. "I think I know a bit more about wine than someone who serves it for a living, don't you think?" He ordered the most expensive bottle on the menu instead, Not because he wanted it, but because he could. Daniel simply nodded. Excellent choice, sir. I'll bring that right out. Another round of refills. Another opportunity for Leonard to demonstrate his perceived dominance. Tell me something, he said, holding up his empty glass like evidence in a trial. Do you ever get tired of cleaning up after people who actually contribute something to society? Or is this the peak for you? The question hung in the air, heavy and ugly. Daniel took the glass, his hand steady, his expression unchanged. Every job has its purpose, sir. I'm proud of what I do. What made it worse wasn't just Leonard's cruelty. It was the way he seemed energized by it. Each insult sharpened his smile. Each dismissive gesture puffed his chest a little more. He was a man who confused power with permission, wealth with worth. And he genuinely believed that the size of his bank account gave him the right to diminish another human being. His companions grew quieter as the night went on. Some looked embarrassed. Others pretended not to notice. But Leonard? He was just getting started. In his mind, he was winning. The waiter stayed silent. The service continued. And to him, that silence was surrender. What Leonard didn't realize, what his arrogance wouldn't let him see, was that Daniel's calm wasn't weakness. It was restraint. The kind of restraint that comes from a place Leonard had never known. Genuine confidence. Dessert plates had been cleared. Coffee served. The meal was winding down when Leonard decided he needed one final victory. He pushed back on the table, the legs of his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. The sound cut through nearby conversations, and heads turned. You know what? Leonard announced, loud enough for half the room to hear. I want to speak to the owner of this place. His tone carried that specific blend of entitlement and threat that people use when they believe they're about to get someone fired. His companions froze. The energy at surrounding tables shifted. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Silverware stopped clinking. Daniel stood a few feet away, clearing a nearby table. He turned slowly. I've been coming to high-end restaurants my entire life, Leonard continued, playing to his audience now, and I've never seen service this mediocre. Someone needs to know that they're employing people who clearly don't understand what excellence means. The dining room held its breath. This wasn't just about one man complaining. This was a public execution, and everyone present knew it. Leonard's face glowed with self-satisfaction. This was his moment, the culmination of an evening spent proving his superiority. One of his companions tried to intervene. Leonard, maybe we should just... No. Leonard cut him off with a raised hand. I'm doing this place a favor. The owner needs to know. If you can already feel where this is going, show some love and hit that like button right now. Daniel placed the plates he'd been holding onto a service station. He reached up and slowly, deliberately, removed the towel draped over his forearm, the universal symbol of service staff. He folded it with care and set it down. Then he walked toward Leonard's table, his posture straight, his pace unhurried. The silence in the room became absolute. Daniel stopped at the edge of the table. He looked directly at Leonard, and when he spoke, his voice was calm, clear, and loud enough for the entire dining room to hear. You already are. For words. That's all it took. Leonard blinked. His mouth opened slightly, confusion replacing confidence. What? You're already speaking to the owner, Daniel said evenly. My name is Daniel Hartwell. I'm the founder and owner of Maison du Verre, and I've been your waiter this evening. Time seemed to stop. Leonard's face went through a rapid evolution of expressions, confusion, disbelief, realization, and finally, a pale horror as the full weight of the situation crashed down on him. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. His hands, so animated all evening, fell limp at his sides. Around the room, reactions rippled outward like a stone thrown into still water. A woman at a nearby table gasped softly. Two waiters near the kitchen exchanged knowing smiles. A businessman dining alone actually laughed, one short, shocked bark of disbelief. Whispers began immediately, spreading from table to table. Leonard's companions looked like they wanted to disappear into the floor. One covered his face with his hand. Another stared at his empty coffee cup, like it might offer an escape route. But Daniel wasn't finished. He leaned in slightly, not threateningly, but with the quiet authority of someone who no longer needed to prove anything. In this restaurant, Mr. Briggs, dignity isn't measured by what you own or how much you've made. It's measured by how you treat people. Every person, regardless of whether you think they're beneath you. The words landed like a judge's gavel. I opened this restaurant because I believe in creating experiences that honor everyone who walks through that door, guests and staff alike. I work the floor regularly because I never want to forget what service really means. And tonight, you reminded me exactly why that matters. He straightened up, his expression softening just slightly. Your meal is on the house, gentlemen. Not because you deserve it, but because I believe people should leave here better than they arrived. I hope you do. With that, Daniel gave a small nod and walked toward the kitchen, leaving Leonard frozen in his chair, the weight of his own words in the evening pressing down on him like a physical force. The dining room exploded into hushed conversation. Phones came out. This moment, this perfect reversal of power and pride, was too good not to share. By midnight, the story had escaped the walls of Maison du Verre and spread across Chicago's social media like wildfire. Someone at a neighboring table had recorded the key moment. Within hours, the video had thousands of views. By morning, hundreds of thousands. The headlines wrote themselves. Millionaire humiliates waiter, discovers he owns a restaurant. Chicago restaurant owner teaches lesson in humility. The most satisfying comeuppance of the year. But it wasn't just a schadenfreude that made the story resonate. It was what Daniel represented. In a world that increasingly confused wealth with worth, visibility with value, Daniel reminded people of something fundamental. Character always outweighs your bank account. Always. The restaurant was fully booked for 3 months straight within 48 hours. Interview requests poured in. Local news stations wanted the story. But Daniel, true to form, declined most of them. He released a simple statement. I don't need attention. I just want to run a restaurant where everyone is treated with respect. Staff and guests alike. Leonard Briggs, on the other hand, went silent. He didn't post on social media for weeks. Friends said he left the restaurant that night without another word, his usual bravado completely deflated. Whether he learned anything from the experience, no one can say for certain. But he certainly learned that humiliation cuts both ways. In the weeks that followed, the story sparked conversations across the city. People shared their own experiences. Times they'd witnessed service workers being mistreated, moments they judged someone based on their job rather than their character. Parents used it as a teaching moment with their children. Business leaders referenced it in talks about leadership and respect. Maison du Verre became more than a restaurant. It became a symbol. A reminder that you never really know who you're talking to, that the person pouring your water might own the building, that the person you dismiss might be the one who determines your future. That dignity isn't given by circumstance. It's chosen, carried, and demonstrated through action. Here's the truth that Leonard learned the hard way. Success without humility is just noise. You can have all the money in the world, all the properties, all the power, and still be small. Because real stature, the kind that actually matters, isn't measured in what you have. It's measured in how you make others feel. We live in a world obsessed with appearances, job titles, income brackets, social status. And somewhere along the way, we started believing that those things gave us permission to rank human value, to treat people differently based on where they fall in our mental hierarchy. But that Friday night in Chicago proved something crucial. Everyone has a story you don't know. Everyone has depth you can't see. And the person you're looking down on might be achieving things you'll never reach. Think about your own life. How many times have you made assumptions based on someone's position? How many times have you dismissed someone because they were serving you, helping you, working for you? Have you ever treated someone as less than because their role seems smaller than yours? This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that the way we treat people when we think it doesn't matter is actually when it matters most. Because character isn't what you display when people are watching. It's what you do when you think no one important is. Daniel didn't humiliate Leonard to be cruel. He didn't even raise his voice. He simply let the truth speak for itself. And that truth is universal. How you treat people says everything about who you are and nothing about who they are. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you interact with someone in a service role, a waiter, a barista, a receptionist, anyone, pause. Look them in the eye. Treat them with the same respect you'd want for yourself. Not because they might secretly own the place, but because they're human, and that's reason enough. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about how you see people, then smash that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below telling me about a time you witnessed true humility in action, or a moment when you realized you misjudged someone completely. Because at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to make our way through this world. Some of us have more, some of us have less, but we all deserve dignity. We all deserve respect. And we all need to remember that sometimes, just sometimes, the person you're looking down on is already standing far above you. You just couldn't see it from where you were standing.